The cargo ship New Horizon drifted through the empty space between stars. Its hull was old and scratched, covered with the marks of countless journeys. Paint peeled from its sides, and several panels looked like they needed repair. To anyone watching, it looked like just another beat-up freighter trying to make money hauling goods across the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars through the main window. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm brown eyes. His uniform was simple and practical, nothing fancy. Jake had been flying cargo ships for 15 years, and he knew how to look like he belonged in space. "Captain, we're coming up on the Vega sector," said Lisa Crawford from the navigation station. She was his first officer, a smart woman with short blonde hair and quick hands on the controls. Lisa had been with Jake for 3 years, and they worked well together. "Good. How's our cargo holding up, Pete?" Jake asked, turning to look at the engineering station. Pete Johnson looked up from his screens. He was a big man with strong arms and a gentle smile. "Everything's secure, Captain. The containers are locked down tight, and the environmental systems are running smooth." Jake nodded. The cargo they carried was supposed to be farm equipment and mining tools. That's what their shipping papers said, anyway. The truth was very different, but Jake wasn't worried about anyone finding out. His crew knew how to keep secrets. Amy Walsh sat at the communication station, her red hair tied back in a ponytail. She was young but good at her job. "Captain, I'm picking up some chatter on the pirate frequencies. Sounds like the Kefir are active in this area. Any direct threats?" Jake asked. "Not yet, but they're talking about human ships. They think we're easy targets." Amy's voice had a slight edge to it. Danny Torres looked up from what appeared to be a supply closet. He was a quiet man with dark hair and steady hands. Most people would think he was just checking inventory, but Danny was actually running diagnostics on systems that didn't officially exist. "The Kefir have been hitting a lot of human freighters lately," Lisa said. 3 ships in the past month. They always demand the cargo and let the crews go. No one fights back." Jake smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. That's because those were real cargo ships. Civilian crews don't have military training, and they're not carrying anything worth dying for. The New Horizon looked like those other ships from the outside. It had the same basic design, the same worn appearance, the same small crew. But Jake's ship was different in ways that mattered, ways that pirates wouldn't notice until it was too late. "Pete, how are our special systems running?" Jake asked quietly. Pete checked his hidden screens. "All green, Captain. Everything's ready when you need it." The ship's real engines could push them much faster than any normal freighter. The shields were military grade, hidden behind fake panels that made them look old and weak. The weapons. Well, the weapons were the real surprise. "Amy, keep monitoring those frequencies. I want to know if anyone's paying attention to us." "Yes, sir." So far, we just look like another boring cargo run to them. Jake had been doing this job for 2 years now. The military had asked him to captain a special ship, one that could carry important cargo without attracting attention. The New Horizon was perfect for the job. It looked harmless, but it could fight if needed. The cargo hold contained prototype shield generators and new energy weapons. These weren't the kind of tools that farmers or miners used. They were advanced military technology that could change how wars were fought. The outer colonies needed these weapons to defend themselves, and Jake's job was to get them there safely. "Captain, we've got company," Lisa said. Her voice tense. Jake looked at the sensor display. 6 ships had just dropped out of hyperspace around them. They were Kefir vessels, long and narrow, with sharp angles. Each one was 3 times the size of the New Horizon, and they bristled with weapons. "Looks like the pirates found us," Jake said calmly. "Everyone stay cool. Remember your training." Amy's hands moved over her controls. "They're hailing us, Captain." "Put them through." The main screen flickered, and a Kethver face appeared. The alien had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Captain Zixthral was known throughout the sector as a ruthless pirate who showed no mercy. "Human cargo vessel, you will surrender immediately," the alien said in broken English. "Prepare to be boarded. Resist, and you will die." Jake put on his best frightened expression. "Please, we're just carrying farm equipment." "We don't want any." "Trouble," the pirate leader laughed, a harsh sound. "All humans say the same thing. You are weak. Your ships are weak. Today you will learn what happens when you enter Kethver space." "What do you want from us?" Jake asked, making his voice shake a little. "Everything. Your cargo, your ship, your credits. If you cooperate, we might let you live in escape pods." Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa was ready at her station. Pete had his hand near a hidden control panel. Amy was typing quietly on her keyboard. Danny had moved closer to his real workstation. "We'll do whatever you want," Jake said to the pirate. "Just please don't hurt us." The alien smiled, showing all those sharp teeth. "Smart humans. Power down your weapons and engines. Prepare for boarding." Jake nodded to his crew. This was the moment they had trained for. The pirates thought they had caught another helpless human ship. They were about to learn that not all human vessels were what they seemed. "Powering down." "Now," Jake said, his finger hovering over a control that would do the exact opposite. The trap was set. Soon, the Kethver would discover why Deathworlder ships kept their real weapons hidden. The 6 Kethver ships moved into position around the new horizon like hungry wolves surrounding their prey. Captain Zix Thrall watched from his command ship as the human vessel appeared to shut down its systems one by one. The lights on its hull dimmed, and its engines went quiet. "Pathetic," Zix Thrall said to his crew. "These Deathworlders are all the same. They surrender before we even fire a shot." His first officer, a scarred veteran named Vector, nodded in agreement. "The humans have no fighting spirit, Captain. They care more about their lives than their honor." On the new horizon, Jake Morrison continued his act. He slumped in his chair and spoke in a defeated voice to the pirates. "We've powered down our weapons. Please, we have families back home. We're just trying to make a living." Captain Zix Thrall laughed. "Your families should have taught you not to fly in dangerous space. Victor, take the boarding party. Strip that ship clean." The largest Kethver vessel launched a boarding craft filled with 20 armed raiders. The small ship was fast and heavily armed, designed to dock with cargo vessels and deploy troops quickly. Its crew had done this dozens of times before, always against helpless human traders. Lisa Crawford watched the approaching craft on her sensors while keeping her expression worried and scared. "Captain, they're coming in fast. 20 pirates on that boarding ship." "I see them," Jake replied quietly. Under his breath, he added, "Danny, are you ready?" Danny Torres stood near what looked like a storage locker. His hand rested on what appeared to be a simple control panel. "Ready when you are, Captain." Amy Walsh kept monitoring the pirate communications while pretending to be terrified. The Kethver were speaking in their own language, but her universal translator was picking up everything. They were already arguing about how to split the cargo. "They think we're carrying valuable metals and rare crystals," Amy whispered. "They have no idea what's really in our hold." Pete Johnson had his hands positioned over several hidden control panels. His job was to manage the ship's real power systems when the fighting started. The new horizon had been built to look weak. While hiding incredible strength, the boarding craft came closer, its weapons trained on the human ship. Inside, the Kethver raiders checked their weapons and prepared to board. They expected another easy raid against weak humans who would beg for their lives. 30 seconds to docking, announced Victor over the radio. Captain Zix smiled as he watched from his command ship. Another successful hunt. The humans never learn. On the New Horizons bridge, Jake watched the countdown timer on his hidden display. The boarding craft was now close enough that the pirates couldn't escape even if they tried. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "Captain," Lisa said in a normal voice, dropping her scared act, "boarding craft is at optimal range." Jake's expression changed completely. The fear and defeat disappeared, replaced by the cold calculation of a military officer. "Pete, bring us to full power." Amy, jam their communications. "Lisa, prepare for combat maneuvers." His crew moved with practiced efficiency. These weren't frightened cargo handlers. They were trained military personnel who had been pretending to be something they weren't. Pete's fingers flew over his controls, and the New Horizons' true engines came online. The ship's power output jumped to levels that should have been impossible for a simple freighter. Hidden systems throughout the vessel activated, revealing the warship that had been disguised as a merchant vessel. Amy's communications jamming cut off the pirates' ability to coordinate. The Kethver ships suddenly found themselves blind and deaf, unable to talk to each other or their boarding party. The boarding craft was less than 50 meters away when Jake gave the order that would change everything. "Danny, show them why we keep the good stuff hidden." Danny pressed a series of controls that had been disguised as cargo management systems. Throughout the New Horizons hull, hidden panels slid open. Retractable armor plating moved aside to reveal weapon ports that had been completely invisible moments before. The transformation was incredible. In less than 10 seconds, the harmless-looking freighter became a heavily armed warship. Plasma cannons emerged from concealed positions. Missile tubes opened along the ship's sides. Point defense turrets popped up from hidden compartments. The Kethver boarding party had just enough time to realize they had made a terrible mistake before Danny opened fire. The concealed weapons unleashed their fury on the boarding craft. Military grade. Plasma bolts tore through the smaller ship's hull like paper. The raiders inside didn't even have time to scream before their vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Captain Zix stared in shock as debris from his boarding party scattered across space. What just happened? Where did those weapons come from? His sensors were going crazy, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The human ship that had looked so weak moments before was now showing power readings that matched a military cruiser. "Captain," his weapons officer called out, "the human vessel is moving. It's much faster than our scans indicated." The New Horizon was indeed moving, accelerating at speeds that no cargo ship should have been capable of. Pete had unleashed the vessel's true engines, and they were far more powerful than anything the pirates had expected. Lisa took the ship into a combat pattern that she had practiced hundreds of times in simulation. The New Horizon moved like a predator that had finally revealed its true nature. "All Kethver vessels." Jake's voice came over the radio, no longer scared or pleading. "You have attacked a military vessel of the Human Defense Force. Surrender. Now or face the consequences." Captain Zix 4 eyes widened in horror. A military vessel? But it had looked like a simple cargo ship. How was this possible? "It's a trap!" Vector shouted. "The humans tricked us." The other Kethver ships were scrambling to respond, but they had been caught completely off guard. They had positioned themselves for a simple piracy operation, not a space battle against a warship. Jake smiled as he watched the pirates panic. "Amy, patch me through to all frequencies. I want every pirate in this sector to hear what comes next." The trap had been sprung, and the hunters had become the hunted. The Kethvar were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans and their ships. The space around the New Horizon erupted into chaos as the Kethver ships tried to recover from their shock. Captain Zixthrall screamed orders at his crew while watching the debris from his boarding craft drift past his command ship's windows. "Ships, attack formation. Destroy that human vessel," he commanded, but his voice carried a note of panic that his crew had never heard before. The 5 remaining pirate ships moved to surround the New Horizon, their weapons charging for a coordinated strike. These were experienced raiders with powerful ships and deadly weapons. They should have been able to crush any single opponent, but Jake Morrison wasn't worried. He had been waiting for this moment for months. "Lisa, bring us about." "I want the clear shot at their lead ship," he said calmly. Lisa's hands moved over her controls with the skill of a trained pilot. The New Horizon spun through space in a maneuver that no cargo ship should have been able to perform. Its hidden engines provided thrust and agility that shocked the watching pirates. "Pete, how are our power levels?" Jake asked. "All systems are running at 100%, Captain. We've got full power to weapons and shields," Pete replied. His screens showed the true capabilities of their disguised warship. The Kethvar opened fire first, sending plasma bolts and missiles toward the human ship. The pirates expected to see the New Horizon's weak shields collapse under the assault. Instead, military-grade defensive systems activated automatically. The New Horizon's real shields absorbed the incoming fire without even flickering. Point. Defense turrets shot down the missiles before they could hit their target. "Impossible," Captain Zixthrall shouted. "How can they have shields that strong?" Danny Torres was ready with his answer. His fingers moved over weapon controls that had been hidden inside what looked like cargo management systems. The New Horizon's true armament was about to reveal itself. "Firing main weapons," Danny announced. The disguised warship's plasma cannons spoke with the voice of thunder. These weren't the light weapons that most cargo ships carried for protection. These were military-grade guns designed to punch through heavy armor and thick shields. The concentrated fire struck the nearest Kethver ship in its engine section. The pirate vessel's shields collapsed instantly, and its hull cracked open like an egg. Atmosphere vented into space as the ship spun out of control. "Direct hit," Lisa reported. "That ship is dead in space." Amy Walsh was monitoring all communications frequencies, both friendly and hostile. "Captain, the other pirate ships are trying to call for backup. Should I let the message through?" Jake considered for a moment. "Let them call. I want word of this to spread." The remaining 4 Kethver ships regrouped and attacked again, this time with more caution. They had learned that the human vessel was far more dangerous than it appeared. Captain Zixthrall's ship fired its heavy guns, while 2 other vessels attacked from different angles. The 4th ship held back, ready to exploit any weakness they might find. The New Horizon took the coordinated attack and shrugged it off. Pete had designed the power distribution system to prioritize shields during combat and the ship's defensive systems were working perfectly. "Their shields are stronger than a battlecruiser's," Victor reported to his captain. "How is this possible? It looked like a cargo ship." "It's still just 1 ship against 4, Zixthrall snarled. "Keep firing. Concentrate all weapons on the same section." But Jake had no intention of fighting a defensive battle. The New Horizon had been built for a different kind of combat, one that took advantage of human tactics and thinking. "Lisa, take us into the debris field from that first ship. Use it for cover," he ordered. The New Horizon dove toward the wreckage of the destroyed pirate vessel, using the scattered metal and components to hide its approach. This was a tactic that most species would consider dishonorable, but humans had learned long ago that survival mattered more than honor. "Danny, prepare the missile pods. Target the ship that's hanging back." Hidden launchers throughout the New Horizons hull opened up, revealing smart missiles that had been disguised as cargo containers. These weren't simple explosive warheads. They were intelligent weapons that could hunt their targets and adapt to defensive measures. The missiles launched in silence, using the debris field to mask their approach. The Kethfer ship that thought it was safely out of range suddenly found itself under attack by weapons that seemed to come from nowhere. Incoming missiles. The pirate ship's sensor operator screamed, but it was too late. The smart missiles struck the vessel's command section and weapon batteries simultaneously. The ship's shields flickered and failed as its power systems overloaded. Secondary explosions tore through its hull as stored ammunition detonated. "Another one down," Amy reported. 3 ships remaining. Captain Zix Thrall watched in horror as a second ship in his fleet died. The humans had turned what should have been an easy raid into a disaster. His crews were starting to panic. "All ships, focus fire on their engines," he commanded. "If we can't destroy them, we'll cripple them." The 3 surviving Kethfer vessels concentrated their attacks on the New Horizons rear section, hoping to disable its propulsion systems. But Pete Johnson had planned for this possibility. "Switching to backup engines," he announced. "Primary systems are protected behind additional armor." The New Horizon continued to move at full speed despite the focused attack on its engine section. The pirates' weapons scored hits, but they were striking decoy systems and ablative armor that had been designed to absorb damage. Jake smiled as he watched the pirates waste their ammunition on false targets. "Amy, open a channel to all ships." "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, Kethfer vessels," Jake said in a calm, professional voice. "This is your only warning. Surrender now, or share the fate of your companion ships." Captain Zix Thrall's response was filled with rage and desperation. "Never! We are Kethfer. We do not surrender to weak Deathworlders." "Your choice," Jake replied. "Danny, show them what happens when you refuse a reasonable offer." The New Horizon had one more surprise for the pirates. Hidden torpedo tubes opened along its sides, revealing weapons that had been completely invisible until this moment. These weren't the smart missiles from before. These were heavy ship killers designed to crack the hulls of large vessels. Danny fired a full spread at the closest Kethfer ship. The torpedoes crossed the distance between the vessels in seconds, their powerful engines driving them through space like spears of light. The pirate ship tried to turn away, but it was too late. The torpedoes struck its hull in a concentrated pattern, punching through shields and armor like they weren't even there. The ship broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up the darkness of space. 2 ships left. "This is impossible," Vector whispered as he watched another vessel die. "They were supposed to be harmless cargo haulers." Jake heard the transmission and decided to answer. "That's your first mistake. Never assume you know what a human ship really is until you see all its teeth." The battle had been raging for only 10 minutes, but half of the Kethfer fleet was already destroyed. Captain Zix Thrall stared at his tactical display in disbelief. 4 of his ships were gone, reduced to scattered debris floating in space. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his crew. "It's just one human ship." Vector was studying the sensor readings, trying to understand what they were facing. "Captain, their tactical patterns don't match anything in our databases. They fight like no other species we've encountered." The New Horizon continued to move through the battlefield with deadly grace. Lisa Crawford piloted the ship like it was an extension of her own body, weaving between enemy fire and positioning them for the next attack. "The Kethvar are trying to use standard fleet tactics," she reported to Jake. "But they're designed for fighting other Kethvar ships, not something like us." Jake nodded. Human military doctrine was different from every other species in the galaxy. While aliens relied on overwhelming firepower or superior technology, humans had learned to use deception, adaptability, and unconventional thinking. Pete, reroute power from the fake cargo bay systems to the main engines. I want maximum speed for the next maneuver. Pete's fingers moved quickly over his controls. The New Horizon had been designed with multiple redundant systems, all hidden behind false panels and fake equipment. What looked like a simple cargo management system was actually a sophisticated power distribution network. Power rerouted, Captain. We're running at 120% of normal capacity. Amy Walsh continued to monitor enemy communications while coordinating the ship's electronic warfare systems. Captain, the remaining ships are trying to call for reinforcements. They're also transmitting everything they've seen to their home fleet. Good, Jake said. I want them to spread the word about what happens when you attack human ships. The two surviving Kethver vessels had regrouped and were attempting a coordinated attack. Captain Zixthral's command ship and the heavy cruiser Deathcaron moved to flank the New Horizon from opposite sides. They're trying to catch us in a crossfire, Lisa observed. Classic pirate tactic. Then let's show them why classic tactics don't work against humans, Jake replied. Danny, prepare the electromagnetic pulse charges. Danny activated another hidden system. Throughout the New Horizon's hull, concealed EMP generators came online. These weapons were designed to disable enemy electronics without destroying the hull. Ships themselves, but they required close range to be effective. Lisa, take us straight between those two ships. Maximum speed. That's suicide, Captain. We'll be caught in their combined firepower. Trust me. Lisa knew better than to question Jake's orders. She had seen him pull off impossible maneuvers before. The New Horizon accelerated directly toward the gap between the two enemy vessels. Seemingly flying into a trap, the Kethver ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and missile volleys filled the space around the human vessel. Any normal ship would have been destroyed instantly. But the New Horizon wasn't normal. Pete had rerouted power to the forward shields, creating a barrier that absorbed most of the incoming fire. The ship's armor took hits, but held together, protecting the crew inside. Now, Jake shouted. Danny triggered the EMP charges just as they passed between the two pirate ships. Electromagnetic pulses erupted from hidden projectors, washing over both Kethver vessels at point-blank range. The effect was immediate and devastating. The pirates' shields collapsed as their power systems overloaded. Their weapons went silent and their engines stuttered. Both ships found themselves dead in space, completely helpless. Direct EMP hits on both targets, Amy reported. They're electrical. Systems are completely scrambled. Captain Zixthral watched his command displays go dark one by one. Emergency lighting flickered on as his ship's main power failed. What kind of weapon was that? His crew scrambled to restart their systems, but the electromagnetic pulse had fried most of their electronics. It would take hours to repair the damage. If they could repair it at all, the New Horizon completed its pass between the disabled ships and turned around for another attack. But instead of finishing off the helpless pirates, Jake had something else in mind. Amy, open a channel to both ships. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Force vessel New Horizon, he announced. Your ships are disabled and at my mercy. I could destroy you both right now, but I'm going to give you a choice. Captain Zixthral managed to get his communications working on emergency power. What kind of choice? You can die here, or you can carry a message back to your people. The choice is yours. Vector whispered to his captain. It's a trap. Humans don't show mercy. But Jake continued speaking. For too long, pirates have been attacking human cargo ships because you think we're easy prey. You see our beat-up freighters and assume we're weak. Today, you learn the truth. The New Horizon moved closer to the disabled HFY ships, its weapons trained on both vessels. Not every human ship is what it appears to be. Some of us are civilian traders, just trying to make a living. But others are something very different. What? Are you? Captain Zixthrol asked. I'm a hunter, Jake replied. And you're the prey. Danny kept the ship's weapons locked on the pirate vessels, while Pete monitored their repair efforts. The HFY were slowly getting some systems back online, but they were still helpless. Here's your message, Jake continued. Tell every pirate, every raider, every scumbag who thinks humans are easy targets. We don't show our teeth until we're ready to bite. And when we do bite, we bite hard. Lisa brought the New Horizon alongside the heavy cruiser Death Karan. Through the viewing ports, the human crew could see the alien pirates working frantically to restore power to their ship. We've been watching you, Jake said. Learning your tactics, studying your patterns. Every civilian ship you've attacked has been gathering intelligence for us. Now we know everything about how you operate. Amy had been recording the entire battle on all frequencies. This engagement would be analyzed by military intelligence and used to improve human defensive capabilities. The easy times are over, Jake announced. From now on, when you see a human ship, you'll have to ask yourself one question. Is this a helpless cargo hauler? Or is it something that will send you to the bottom of space? Captain Zixthrol realized what the human was saying. This hadn't been a random encounter. It had been a carefully planned operation designed to send a message to the entire pirate community. You used yourselves as bait, he said in amazement. We did what humans do best, Jake replied. We adapted. We learned. And we turned your own assumptions against you. The New Horizon began to move away from the disabled ships, but Jake wasn't finished yet. You have 1 hour to get your engines working. If you're still here when I come back, I'll assume you've chosen to die. As the human ship disappeared into the distance, Captain Zixthrol looked around at his damaged vessel and his shaken crew. They had learned a hard lesson about underestimating Deathworlders. 3 hours later, the New Horizon returned to where the battle had taken place. The debris from 4 destroyed HFY ships still drifted through space, a reminder of what had happened here. But the 2 disabled vessels were gone. Looks like they managed to get their engines working, Lisa said, checking the sensor readings. Jake nodded with satisfaction. Good. I want them to live long enough to spread the word. Amy was monitoring long-range communications. Captain, I'm picking up increased chatter on the pirate networks. Word is already getting out about what happened here. What are they saying? Jake asked. They're calling it impossible. Some think it's human propaganda, but the ones who believe it are scared. Amy listened to more transmissions. Several raider groups have already canceled planned attacks on human shipping lanes. Pete was running diagnostics on all the ship's systems. The battle had pushed their equipment hard, but everything was still functioning perfectly. All systems. Green, Captain. The disguise protocols are back online. We look like a normal cargo ship again. The transformation was remarkable. The weapon ports had closed and been covered by false hull panels. The military-grade sensors were hidden behind fake communication arrays. Even the engine signatures had been altered to match those of a typical freighter. Excellent work, everyone, Jake said to his crew. That was textbook execution. Danny was securing the weapon systems and making sure all the military hardware was properly concealed. Captain, what do we do if more pirates show up? This engagement is going to make us famous. That's the point, Jake replied. Fear is a better weapon than any gun. If pirates are afraid to attack human ships, we've accomplished our mission without firing another shot. The New Horizon resumed its course toward the outer colonies, carrying its precious cargo of advanced technology. But now it carried something else as well, a reputation that would spread throughout the criminal underworld. On the bridge of Captain Zix Thrall's damaged ship, a Kethfer leader was recording a message for the Pirate Council. His 4 eyes were filled with a combination of fear and respect as he spoke. "The humans are not what we thought they were," he said into the recording device. "Some of their ships carry weapons that rival our best warships. They fight with tactics we have never seen before." Vector was still working on repairs, but he listened to his captain's words. "Should we warn the other fleets? We must. The easy prey is gone. Hunting human ships is now more dangerous than raiding military convoys." The message would reach pirate bases throughout the sector within days. Other raiders would hear about the destruction of 4 ships by a single human vessel that had looked like a harmless cargo hauler. Back on the New Horizon, Jake was making his own report to military command. Mission accomplished. The prototype. Weapons and shield generators are secure and on schedule for delivery. The pirates have been dealt with. "What about civilian shipping?" asked the voice from headquarters. "Will this operation help protect our merchant vessels?" "I believe it will." Word spreads fast in the criminal community. When pirates start questioning whether every human ship might be a disguised warship, they'll think twice before attacking. Amy had been listening to pirate communications for hours. "Captain, you should hear this. The Kethvar are calling for a complete halt to raids on human targets. They're saying it's too dangerous." Jake smiled. "That's exactly what we wanted to hear." The strategy had been simple but effective. For months, human intelligence had been tracking pirate activities and studying their methods. They learned that most raiders were cowards who preferred easy targets over fair fights. By disguising military vessels as cargo ships, the humans had turned the pirates' own assumptions against them. Now every beat-up freighter might be hiding deadly weapons. Every frightened crew might be trained soldiers in disguise. Lisa set course for new Shanghai colony. "Our cargo is needed there." "Aye, Captain." Course laid in. As the New Horizon jumped to hyperspace, Jake thought about the future. This mission had proven that humans could protect their shipping lanes without massive military fleets. Sometimes, the best defense was making your enemies afraid to attack. The cargo they carried would help the outer colonies defend themselves against hostile forces. But the real victory was the message they had sent. Humans were not helpless prey. They were predators who had learned to hide their claws until the moment they struck. 3 weeks later, pirate attacks on human shipping had dropped by 90%. The few raiders who still tried to board human vessels found themselves facing armed crews who knew how to fight. Some merchant captains had even started adding fake weapon ports to their ships, just to make pirates think twice. Captain Zix Thrall, meanwhile, had taken his surviving ships to the far edge of the galaxy. He never raided human vessels again, and he made sure his crews understood why. "Deathworlders are called that for a reason," he would tell new recruits. "They come from a planet that tried to kill them every day. They learned to survive by being smarter, tougher, and more dangerous than anything that hunted them. But they look so weak," a young pirate had said once. Zix Thrall had shown him the battle recordings from that day. "That's what makes them so dangerous. They let you think you're the hunter, right up until the moment they reveal that you're actually the prey." The lesson spread throughout the criminal underworld. Human ships were to be avoided at all costs. You never knew which ones were innocent traders and which ones were wolves dressed as sheep. Jake Morrison continued his missions, carrying vital supplies to human colonies while maintaining the illusion that his ship was just another cargo hauler. The New Horizon had become a legend in pirate circles, a ship that appeared harmless but could destroy entire fleets. Other similar vessels were built and deployed, each one disguised as civilian craft but carrying military-grade weapons and trained crews. The program was so successful that it became a permanent part of human space defense. Years later, when alien historians studied the period, they would mark this battle as the moment when pirates learned to fear human merchants. The New Horizon completed its mission successfully, delivering the advanced technology to New Shanghai colony without further incident. The colonists received the new shield generators and weapons just in time to repel an attack by hostile alien forces who had been planning to invade the system. But the real victory was quieter and more lasting. Across the galaxy, human cargo ships began to travel safer routes. Pirates who had once seen them as easy targets now gave them wide berths, never knowing which vessels might be carrying hidden surprises. Jake Morrison eventually retired from active service, but his tactics became standard doctrine for the Human Defense Force. The principle was simple: let your enemies underestimate you until the moment you prove them wrong. The New Horizon was eventually decommissioned and put on display at the Naval Academy on Earth. A plaque next to it read, "In memory of those who learned that sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming." Captain Zixthral lived to old age, but he never forgot the lesson he learned that day. He became one of the most vocal advocates for avoiding human space entirely. His final words to his crew before retiring were simple: never trust a human. Ship that looks harmless, that's when they're most dangerous. The strategy worked so well that within a decade, pirate attacks on human vessels had become almost non-existent. The criminal organizations found easier prey among other species who didn't have the humans' talent for deception and surprise. And somewhere in space, other disguised human warships continued their missions, carrying vital cargo while maintaining the fiction that they were just innocent traders. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about Deathworlders. They didn't survive by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the most unpredictable when it mattered most. The age of easy piracy against human ships was over. The hunters had become the hunted, and they would never make the same mistake again.